Hey everybody, thanks again for tuning in. This is Erik Brown, your Beverly Hills real estate agent, and I've got a special treat for us today. I'm here with a friend of mine, David Ayala of Tequila Diamante, and we're going to get to hear some really cool backstories about the founding of this beverage, as well as some of the things that they want to do in the future. So David, thanks so much for joining us.
Excellent. Erik, thanks for having us.
Yeah, so tell us about the foundation of the company.
Well, Tequila Diamante came from essentially another project, tequila project that had stalled, and one of the founders thought, well, maybe this is an opportunity, and it was something that he thought he could take to market, just take it from somebody else's dream and actually, get it to be something on a shelf. So that's initially where it started. So, fast forward probably 3 years, and we finally launched the product here in the United States in May of 2020, right in the middle of the pandemic.
Yeah.
So I think probably one of the scariest things after everybody having worked so hard to get the brand to market is after we went down to the distillery in February 2020 to get our first container of bottles filled. We were all on the plane back, and we were just all watching the news, seeing how the NBA was shutting down, schools were closing, restaurants were shutting down, and it was kind of like a really sobering reality to come back to. But I think ultimately what that did is it afforded us the opportunity to really just kind of examine ourselves. Okay, let's test our mettle. What can we do? Mm-hmm. And at that point, in the middle, that was the beginning of the pandemic. Really, there were no restaurants open, no clubs open. Really, the only place that we could really focus on starting to place a product was in liquor stores, or basically off-premise retailers. Mm-hmm. So that's really what we got to focus on, and what Charlie, director of sales, focused on in putting a team together. Is we just hit all those off-premise locations really hard. It's really the only place we could go to. But since then, let's fast forward to now. We're seeing, the restaurants are back open, the clubs are back open. So now we're starting to, make a lot of inroads in the on-premise locations. So right now we're probably at about 400 locations in Southern California.
That's great. So tell us about the generation of that. Why did the three of you decide to get together? How did you decide to expand? And what makes the product different from all the others that are starting up over the past 5+ years?
Mm-hmm. I think what brought us, the core team together initially is just like we all saw this as something that was definitely different. We all, I think, ultimately have the same goals. What we wanted to do was just build this brand to become as well known as we could possibly make it, and with the ultimate goal of being able to being picked up in an acquisition. But going back to say like even just the roots of what we're doing in the tequila space, we wanted to make a different statement in the tequila space, and I think if there's one mission that we have as guys with a tequila, is that we want to dispel the notions of I guess the old notions of tequila, where people typically think of salt and limes, salt and lime. You got to do that just to get it down. But where that salt and lime comes from is just you drinking not good tequila,
right?
Not good tequila. And I think we use that as a springboard for what informs our flavor profiles. And then our first big ad campaign was called Rethink Smooth, and all our tequilas were developed as sipping tequilas. You don't necessarily have to make cocktails with them, margaritas or tequila sunrise or palomas, or for that matter. But you can actually, if you want to enjoy or experience tequila in a different way, that's the way our tequilas are. You can actually drink them just neat. If you want to put a cube of ice in it, you can do that. We don't use any additives. We don't use any diffusers or anything like that. So it's a very traditional, pure way of making tequila. It's exceptionally smooth.
And I think that you had talked to me a bit about the distillation process,
mm-hmm.
And how that's unique even.
Yeah, our tequila is made in, I believe it's the third largest distillery in Mexico. But the fact that it's the third largest distillery in Mexico can maybe give you a connotation, okay, like it's a high volume place. They do move some product through there, but there's only a handful of brands that are in that distillery. Our tequila, our flavor profile really starts with where the tequila is grown, and I mean the agave is grown. And it's grown in the highlands of Arandas, which is in Jalisco. And the particular soil that these Blue River agave grows in is a volcanic soil. So basically what it is a combination of the climate and the way the water percolates through the soil past the roots really goes a long way towards informing the flavor profile of that type of agave.
That's great. And you brought along some of the varietals to be able
we did.
Maybe share a bit with folks so they can get an idea of the visual.
Okay. This is our Blanco. And obviously it's a clear tequila. This is what all tequilas start with in terms of just the way they look. They're clear and they're colorless. And the way they pick up their flavors, basically the way you pick up the flavors by putting it in wood barrels. So this is the Blanco. That's how tequila looks when it starts. And this rests in stainless steel vats. It never touches wood. So this rests in stainless steel vats for up to about 8 weeks. We'll fast forward, and then now we have this is our reposado. So it picks up its color because it's been exposed to wood. So, and this is anywhere, reposados are typically anywhere from 8 to 18 months in a barrel. We use French oak barrels, which imparts, our particular profile, which is right in the middle. It's not smoky. It has just a slight bit of burn on the end. I don't even like to use the word burn. I think it's just called a little bit of fire. Mm-hmm. That's the reposado. And then here, this is the one that really just flies off the shelf for us. This is our Ayala. This is 18 months in the barrel. So you can see there's definitely a darker color when you compare it to reposado. Mm-hmm. This tends to be, I wouldn't say tends to be, it is our biggest seller by far. Mm-hmm. In terms of who you can compare it to, when you go to the on-premise locations, or even all the off-premise locations, this is on the shelf next to Don Julio's 1942 and Clase Azul's Ayala.
That's great.
So it's in the same league. Price point is, we're a little bit less than those guys, but I think probably in due time there will be some parity in terms of pricing.
Now, you had touched on some of the goals that you have as kind of a bigger mission statement overall for the brand. What are some things that you want to tackle over the course of the next 6 to 12 months? I would say maybe speaking for one of the partners who's not here, Charlie. I like what his approach to it is. In doing what we're doing, we want, and I'm going to quote Charlie here. He says, we want people to experience tequila the way tequila was meant to be experienced. And tequila, you can, much like fine wines, you can slice and dice it and get very particular with it, with the types of barrels, the type of agave, the type of water that ends up even going to it. So we want to do our part to change the tequila drinking experience. That it doesn't have to be associated with shots and college frat parties and stuff like that. That you can actually just sit this and sip it and actually enjoy it. And it's not, doesn't have to be a masculine thing only. Right. I don't know about you, but I'm getting a little bit thirsty. So I've got to ask, because people are going to want to know, how can folks get in touch? How can they find the product? You mentioned some locations. Mm-hmm. Is there anything else beyond contact info that you think people should know?
You can go onto our website, which is tequiladiamante.com, and you can go to the Find Here tab, and all you have to do is just enter in your zip code, and it will tell you the closest retailer that you can pick it up.
That's great. David, thanks very much for joining us today.
Thank you, Erik.
Sharing a little bit. Contact information, obviously, David had shared, but it's also here on screen. If you've got any questions, comments, please touch base there. Otherwise, this is Erik Brown, your Beverly Hills real estate agent, signing off.
Cheers.